All right, guys, we're going to get into the New England colonies and we're going to talk about them in the form of pegs: the political, the economic, the geographic, and the social. If you look at the map, you have those four colonies that comprise the New England colonies. You have Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. You see Massachusetts under twice. The top portion eventually became Maine. So we're going to start off with the social. So the people who settled in the New England colonies at first were the Pilgrims. They came from the Mayflower Compact. As you learned from the Mayflower Compact lesson, they were originally supposed to land in Virginia, but due to rough weather, they ended up in Massachusetts, and then they formed the Plymouth colony. And then you have the Puritans who came later. They were escaping religious persecution in England. First, they attempted to go to Holland, didn't go so well there, so they ended up coming to the New Americas. Both those groups established their own form of government based on their religious beliefs. They both were very religious. The Puritans more so than the Pilgrims. But what they did was, as far as on the political side, the Pilgrims established the Mayflower Compact, which they signed aboard a ship before they got off, which was an agreement between the men that were there on the ship, and it was a form of self government. The Puritans, on the other hand, established town halls where the men, and these were only white men, who created laws for the colonies. They were inspired by the writings of Thomas Hooker, and they formed the what's known as the first Constitution of the colonies, which is the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. This was the beginning of representative government, which is similarly to what we have now, where we elect people to make laws for us based on our interests. So then that's the political side. So now we're going to talk about the geographic side of the New England colonies. New England colonies are the furthest north on the east coast of the United States. You have the Atlantic Ocean on one side, and then you have the Appalachian Mountains on the other side. So there's a lot of mountain ranges and a lot of forests, a lot of trees, a lot of dense forests, meaning they're bunched up together. You also have a lot of rivers. These were port cities, meaning that they were used because of their harbors to transport things in and out of the colonies. And the rivers made it easy to travel through. Plus, also the ocean, they were able to ship things back to England, to the mother country. Now, on top of that, you also have a lot of rocky soil. The soil is not very good for growing. So they did have small farms, but those farms were primarily for family use. A family would have their small farm, and then they would grow enough food just to feed themselves. So it wasn't used commercially. And then on top of that, you had these very long winters. This is the furthest north region, so it's closer to the North Pole, which makes it the coldest. As you go further south, it gets warmer, but you have these long, cold winters. And then you have that rocky soil, so those things were going against the New England colonies as far as being able to farm. Now, you also have to find a way to make money. They can't do it by farming like they did in Jamestown with the tobacco, because that's in the southern colonies further south. So what they did is they took advantage of that wood and they built ships. They built a lot of ships, and then they used those ships to go out and go fishing and whaling, because they're so close to the ocean. And in the northern Atlantic, which is where the New England colonies were, there's a lot of whales and a lot of fish. So they use the ships that they build, and they're able to fish a lot and kill a lot of whales and use it for food. And also the whale blubber was used to make candles. A lot of that stuff was sent back to England. And then in England, they also received other things like the wood from the lumber from the trees. And England, they had some factories over there, so they built things and then they send it right back to to the colonies at a higher price, which was called mercantilism. And we'll get a little bit more into mercantilism in the next couple of slides. And that's the gist of it, of the New England colonies. So watch the rest of the video so you could get a better understanding.